Okay, folks, good morning. You're very welcome. As you may know, this is the first ministerial informal council meeting of our presidency. For those of you who don't know, the presidency coincides with Ireland's being a member of the European Union for 40 years, and this is the first of a series of ministerial council meetings that are going to take place during the course of the coming weeks. We have this week, today, tomorrow, the Home Affairs and Justice Ministerial Informal Council meeting. This morning, this afternoon, is the Home Affairs section with Commissioner Malmström. Tomorrow is the Justice section with Commissioner Reding. We have over the 2 days in excess of 50 ministers from the EU, from accession countries and Schengen countries who are attending the meeting. Again, for those of you who are not familiar with these meetings, they involve the Ministers of the Interior, Ministers for Justice, Ministers for Home Affairs from different European Union countries. As I say to colleagues, as the Irish Minister covering all of these briefs, effectively when it comes to some EU states, I'm covering the briefs of three different ministers. We have a very interesting agenda today as part of the Justice for Growth agenda. We're looking at migration for growth, we're looking at internal security issues and economic growth, and we're then dealing with a number of other matters such as Greece's action plan dealing with asylum. We have a special lunchtime discussion on the crisis in Syria, the refugee crisis that's resulting from that, and what the European Union can do to provide further assistance in that context. The Bulgarian minister, towards the end of the meeting, will be reporting to ministers on the progress made in the investigation being conducted into the terrorist attack which resulted in the death of 4 Israeli tourists and 1 Bulgarian national in July of last year. And we will also be discussing Ireland's proposal for an EU-wide Missing Persons Day that will focus on, across the EU, on an annual basis, people who've gone missing, to ensure greater EU connectivity and cooperation in tracing missing persons. I am conscious that we're having the meeting on a day when there are a number of hostages being held in Algeria. There have been different reports of the numbers of hostages being held. The reports have varied from in excess of 20 to as many as 41. A number of European Union nationals, as well as others, are being held by a fundamentalist terrorist group. One of the individuals being held has an Irish passport and is an Irish national who lives in Northern Ireland. And there's an extraordinary Foreign Ministers' Council meeting taking place today in Brussels, called by Catherine Ashton, that Lucinda Creighton is attending on behalf of this state. I'm anticipating that in the afternoon we will discuss issues of relevance to ministers in the context of the hostage crisis. There are very particular issues arising out of what's happening in Mali. As we know, there's been a French intervention in Mali, and that's been assisted by Britain in providing air support. There have been threats made by fundamentalist organisations of retaliation. The events that have taken place in Algeria are, of course, of very substantial concern. There's a great concern about the safety of those held captive, and there's a need to ensure that they're safely released. And I know that is something that will be specifically focused upon at the foreign ministers' meeting that's taking place. From the perspective of internal security issues, there is always a concern that Al-Qaeda affiliates may engage in some terrorist act within the European Union arising out of the events that have taken place. And of course that is of concern to me as in the presidency of the European Home Affairs and Justice Ministers. I know it will be of concern to other ministers, and I expect that later in the day there will be a discussion relating to those concerns. Now that in brief covers, I think, our agenda for today. I'm very happy to take questions from you.
As we're in Dublin, one question to the Dublin 3 negotiations. Apparently they are stuck. The European Parliament didn't do the vote. What is the Irish presidency doing to resolve the problem of asylum seekers?
Well, I'll be in Brussels on Tuesday. I'll be engaging with the different committees within the European Parliament, the heads of those committees and the individual groupings. So in the context of that and any other instrument that's before the Parliament, I hope to have constructive discussions to see can we address any issues that are delaying the development and completion of the process of enacting particular measures. That's one of the measures I'm conscious of.
You said as a response to my question that there are several elements you have to talk with the European Parliament. And I'm just wondering whether the fingerprint issue with Eurodac is one of these issues.
Yes, I expect to engage on that and other issues. There are obviously a number of issues currently that need to be progressed within the European Parliament. I know that there's always a diversity of views in these areas, and we hope during the course of our presidency to constructively engage and see can we resolve roadblocks where they exist.
You're discussing the European Missing Persons Day today, or your proposals for it. Can you tell us a little bit about that, what you want to see happening?
Well, as you may know, there is a European Missing Children's Day in May of every year. And one of the things we looked at in this country in the last 12 months, I would have to say on the initiative of some students in Davis College in Cork who did a project on this issue, was the fact that we don't have a Missing Persons Day for adults. And there was an engagement with our Justice Parliamentary Committee who recommended that we should have such a National Missing Persons Day, which would allow for a particular public focus on people who've gone missing, facilitate our police, the Garda Síochána, on engaging with the public, facilitate voluntary groups in this area, and would in a sense bring a focus on the issue. People go missing for a lot of reasons, and sometimes for very tragic reasons, but there are people who simply walk away on occasions and try and establish a new life without focusing on the stress they're causing to family members, and we felt that it was important that we have a special day to address this issue. Our first National Missing Persons Day is going to take place on the 4th of December this year, and of course people who go missing, and if I could put it this way, voluntarily go missing to establish a new life, relocate in other parts of Europe as well as other parts of the world. And I'm suggesting to ministers that we should have a coordinated EU-wide Missing Persons Day in respect of adults who have gone missing, not simply confine it to children. We have a special day in this context which would allow our police forces cooperate on focusing on this area, and I'm hoping we have very constructive discussion on this today, and it leads to greater cooperation in addressing the issue of missing persons right across the European Union.